Welcome to the Kentucky Motor Speedway for the first race in the first round of playoffs for the Blown Piston Racing League. We are going to be doing 100 laps here tonight. The winner is going to be, if he comes from the Sweet 16, the top 16 drivers that qualified for the playoffs. If the winner is one of those 16 drivers, he will automatically move on to round number 2 that we start in 2 races in Talladega. The first round of the playoffs consists of the Kentucky race and the Richmond race, so this week and next week will be the first round of our playoffs. Then we narrow the field down to the Elite 8, the top 8 drivers in point standings, and winners of one of these 2 races will move on to that Elite 8 group. Then we'll do Talladega and Phoenix to determine the final 4 for the final race in Las Vegas. So that is the scenario that we are starting here tonight. It looks like practice is still on the way. The drivers are back out on track. It looks like Tommy Ryan in the number 6 car has been the quickest driver in the practice session. There he's sitting still at the side of the track there. That is the pit entry lane that they don't necessarily have to be using. The second fastest driver is Andrew Mraz here in the white car, and unfortunately his paint job is not loading quite correctly. I've tried to let him know. He went out, came back in, but there was no change, so there's something wrong there, but I cannot fix that for you. Mike Perry is your 3rd place driver. David Dolliver, your 4th place driver currently in practice. And Marshall Stanley, your 5th driver in practice. They have a little bit less than 2 minutes left to go before they go into qualifying. Qualifying will be the best of 2 laps to determine the grid for the 100-lap race. So let's bring up some information here from the Kentucky Motor Speedway in Sparta, Kentucky. It is a 1.5 mile D-shaped oval. The weather is quite nice. It's 88 degrees Fahrenheit here under the lights. We have a relative humidity of 53%. It's partly cloudy. The winds are 12 miles an hour from the west and southwest. The track temperature is 89 degrees Fahrenheit, which is not very hot. And that makes for a good grip for most of the time, and the drivers will benefit from that. In this league, we are running a 50% fuel capacity limit, and that is going to bring us to a fuel window of about 20 to 23 laps. As you can see at the top of your information there, the 100 laps have been divided up into 3 stages. The first stage will end at lap 30, the second stage will end at lap 60, and the race, obviously, the 3rd stage and the race will end at lap 100. So the drivers can score some extra points when, depending on their positions at those stages. They do not go yellow in this series when the stages are finished, so we're kind of bound to keeping an eye on that ourselves, and it's easy to miss it, but we'll try. The guys are using a fixed setup for this race. That means that they cannot alter the basic setup of the car, the suspensions, the spring rates, the shock absorbers, you name it. They cannot change that. The only thing they can change is the brake bias and the steering ratio. The steering ratio basically is the gearing of the steering that determines the amount of wheel input you have to give for a specific amount of steering the car will do. Some drivers like to have it a little tighter with little movement of their hands, and some drivers like more movement of their hands to steer the car. They have 1 fast repair for the race, meaning that if they get in trouble, the fast repair allows them to get damage fixed instantly. The fast repair, instant repair, does not include tires and fuel, so they would still have to wait for that if they would do that on the same pit stop. Only 1 of them, so if they collect any damage after that first fast repair, they're on their own, and when they get into the pits, iRacing will calculate time for the repairs. All right, so our first drivers are on the track here for qualifying, and let's go and see if we can keep an eye on some of these guys. As we have some new names here, Randy Yoakum. I don't believe I've ever seen Randy before in the Blown Piston series, as at least not while I was with him. Avery Wilson is back. We've seen him before, but don't believe he was here all the time. And let's see who else I saw. That is pretty much it. Tommy Ryan and Jeff Ryan are new. They started racing with the series last time, if I remember correctly. And here you see Avery Wilson in the number 18 car posting the provisional pole time of 31.12. So he is currently the quickest driver on the track. Tommy Ryan, quick in qualifying, now quick quick in practice, now quick in qualifying as well. 31.157, currently in the second position. And if we go further down the field, we see Andrew Moore in third. It's Matt Miller climbing up to the fourth position with his second lap there. Randy Yoakum in fifth. Indiana Wise in sixth. Casey Duncan jumping into seventh here. Then it's Jeff Ryan, Ron Schutte, and it looks like Guy Schneider is climbing in there, as well as Marshall Stanley. And further down, we see Randy Perdue coming out now for his qualifying attempt. And Roger Matthias in the number 5 car. That looks like he doesn't have the correct number there, but we'll get by with that. We've seen some other guys with numbers on there that do not match what the paint job is saying, but we'll get by with that. Casey Duncan running into 17. Target car that we've seen so often, very recognizable. The only car with the targets on its back there. There you have it. Ryan Nicoletta and Kevin Nicoletta, and both, I believe, are in the playoffs. Yes, indeed. They'll be pursuing a win here. Hopefully they can qualify for that next round starting in Talladega instantly that way. So basically we're starting with 16. We're going to narrow it down to 8, and then for the final we're going to narrow it down to 4. We still have an amazingly big field here tonight with the Blown Piston Racing Series. Great series. And if you like the trucks and you want to race on Friday nights, I highly recommend it. There's a lot of great guys here. The racing's good. And there's even some money to be won. Brian Rainville in the 60 car here. Currently in the 10th position. And we still have Andrew Moraz going out here. I'm not sure if he did not post a time just yet. Jason Branch coming out. And it looks like Branch moves himself up to third position, no less, with 31.16. Also one of the playoff drivers. And it looks like Brian has moved into 11th there, and Branch... see if he can improve that time. No, he can't, but he's in third position, so that's still something that he can write home about. And then it's David Dolliver here in the 23 car that jumps into the 7th spot with a 31.28. And at the moment, I believe, apart from Andrew Moraz, that would be... Andrew Moraz jumps into the 4th spot there. That is a good qualifying time, 31.184. And we still have Mike Perry waiting to get out there on the track. Hasn't posted a time yet, but we're about halfway into qualifying, so I'm sure he'll get it started here in just a minute. Expecting a good time from him as well. One of your top runners here, Mike Perry, also one of the playoff drivers. And meanwhile, we are watching Miraz. His second lap time was not better than his first. He's still in fourth position here. And it looks like Randy Yoakum is ready to roll, but he already is qualified. And we're waiting for Mike Perry. We still have no times for Donald Stewart either. And Mike Perry going out on track here in the number 2 STP car. Always one to watch up front. And he starts up high by the wall there, trying to get that momentum going in the car. Haven't seen very many drivers really get into trouble with loose cars or understeering. It looks like that cool track is helping them a little bit. The car's behaving very stable, and a lot of guys are putting in very good lap times. If you look at the qualifying times, they are ranging from 31.12 to 31.66, and it looks like Mike Perry jumps himself into the 8th position with his first lap. So basically what I'm trying to say is that the entire field is no more than just over half a second apart. That is pretty close. So I'm expecting an exciting race here tonight. And let's see if we still have anybody else out going. Nope. It looks like Mike Perry is your final qualifier, putting it up there in the 8th position. And it looks like he already popped the clutch and turned it off. Rolling that car, coasting that car onto the backstretch now. And with a 31.25 as a best lap time, that is pretty good. So, speaking of the difference between the pole time of Avery Wilson and the final qualifier, Roger Matthias, it is 0.54 seconds. So, just over half a second separates the first driver from the 23rd driver as far as lap times is concerned. And I will tell you that that is extremely close, and that is not usual for these racing leagues on iRacing. Blown Piston is a very well run competitive series with a lot of good racers in there, and with 23 cars here tonight, that is a good number of drivers, even though we are missing a few of the playoffs drivers. For once, Jordan Berry is not here. One of the drivers that is also in the playoffs. And other than that, I do believe that everybody that is in the playoffs is here. Marshall Stanley, we've seen him. He's in 14th. Matt Miller, I do believe he's here. Let me find him real quick. Yet he's in 6th position. And Randy Bledsoe is here. I believe, is he? Yeah, he is. He's in 9th position. So aside from Jordan Berry, it looks like we have them all. From that group of 16, what they call the Sweet 16 here in the Blown Piston Racing Series. I can tell you that they're good guys, but sweet is not a word that I would choose if I see them racing. But all joking aside, there is a lot of good racing, clean racing going on, and of course we have our incidents like we all do in races like this. But there's a lot of quality stuff, quality drivers in this series. There you have qualifying, folks. Let's go and check out our grid here real quick. And there you have your pole sitter. That's Avery Wilson. And alongside him will be Tommy Ryan in the number 6 car. Then it'll be Jason Branch in the 22. Alongside Jason will be Andrew Mraz in the 028. The third row will be for Andrew Moore in the 77, Matt Miller in the 78. The fourth row, Randy Yoakum in the 301 and Mike Perry in the 2. The Randy Bledsoe in the 81 with David Dolliver on the fifth row. Indiana Wise in the 31 and Casey Duncan in the 17 on the sixth row. Then we have Jeff Ryan in the number 3 and Marshall Stanley in the 44 on the 7th row. The 8th row will be Brian Wilson in the 60 and Guy Schneider in the 64. The 9th row, Randy Perdue in the 29 and Ron Schutte in the 28. The 10th row is for Ryan Nicoletta and in the 59 and Kevin Nicoletta the 41. In the 41, and then the 11th row. Hey, Jordan Berry is here. I missed his name there before. Jordan Berry in the number 7 car on the 11th row there, alongside John Findlay, in the 297. I believe that car is running number 92 on the paint job. Then we have Roger Matthias on his own there on the final row. Lauren Weiss was in practice, but she is not running the race. She is our admin tonight, so she's the one calling the shots here. And she will not be taking part in the race itself. That's your grid for the race here tonight. Let's just move alongside these cars here for a minute. Unfortunately, Miraz's paintwork is not loading the way it's supposed to. And there you have the 17. He wants to get going. He's willing to get out there. 31 of Indiana Wise. The 44, that is Marshall Stanley. And Randy Perdue there in the 28 car. More drivers getting eager to get out there. And it looks like the field is rolling behind the truck here onto the track. Avery Wilson, your pole sitter. And Tommy Ryan will be alongside him there on the front row with Jason Branch and Andrew Mraz right behind him. And then Andrew Moore and Matt Miller in the 78 car there, the blue car on the high side. And the entire field is coming out there. "23 drivers taking the start here. Good sized field. And on a 1.5 mile oval, I'm fairly sure we're only doing one warm-up lap here, so the truck should be coming in any minute, going down into pit lane. There he goes. Drivers will be waiting on the radio call to get this thing underway. The first round of the first playoff round. The first race in the first playoff round, I should say, in Kentucky. And we are on our way. We are ready to race in the playoffs of the Blown Piston Racing Series. It is Avery Wilson with Tommy Ryan there in the front. And it looks like Andrew Mraz was shooting to the inside there to hold off Andrew Moore. It looks like Matt Miller is on the high side there in that 78 car, dropping back a little bit. And Avery Wilson in the lead here with Tommy Ryan right on his tail. Jason Branch, Andrew Mraz, all right there together. And it looks like Tommy is already coming to the inside of Avery Wilson, and he picks up the lead as they cross the line, starting lap number 3. It is Tommy Ryan with Avery Wilson on his outside, and Jason Branch there right behind him. Avery Wilson is the 18 car on that outside. The whole field is still bunched up there, side by side, fighting for the lead. Tommy Ryan still has it. Avery Wilson wants it back. He now comes down underneath with the famous over and under, a little high on the entry, a little lower on the outside, and he dives underneath Tommy Ryan to pick that lead back up. Avery Wilson back in first, and it looks like we have David Dolliver, who is running in the 9th position, running the fastest lap time so far. That's the black and yellow car you see there at the top of your screen. Tommy Ryan now back on the outside of Avery Wilson, picking that lead back up, nosing ahead of the 18 car. When they cross the line, it is Tommy Ryan getting credit for leading lap number 3 into lap number 4. And it looks like the entire field is still really close together here. A lot of the times they stretch it out a little bit quicker than this, but this looks like we're going to have a really good race. As I said, the track is fairly cool. The guys have good grip and they can find it. They can race both low and middle lines on these turns. It looks like Andrew Mraz is now past Avery Wilson and challenging Tom Ryan for the lead. He is on the outside, and it looks like he's getting around there, but he's on that higher side. He's got a couple of more yards to run than the 6 car, and Tommy Ryan is hanging on to the lead on the backstretch here. And you see Wilson, and then Branch and Miller are moving up there as well. Andrew Moore in the orange car is also clinging to that leading pack here. Mraz and Ryan still side by side battling for the lead here. It looks like Andrew picks it up. And then it's Tommy Ryan again. They're switching the lead multiple times during every lap. Each driver trying to find grip on those lines. It looks like double file racing is absolutely possible here tonight. The number 18 of Avery Wilson trying to interfere in there. And the Navy car of Jason Branch hanging with the 18 there on the higher side. Matt Miller in the blue and black car. And then Andrew Moore in that orange and blue car. Then it's Mike Perry in the number 2 that is starting to move on up as well. Randy Bledsoe in the red and white car. Casey Duncan in the target car. And David Dolliver in the 10th position. And then we get a little bit of a breather towards Randy Yoakum in front of Randy Perdue. Let's bring it back here up front because Ryan and Mraz are still duking it out here for the lead. It is Tommy on the high side, and he's trying to pinch that 28 car of Andrew Mraz down. And 18 of Avery Wilson on that lower side is tugging right there in behind him with Jason Branch also right there on the ball. He's coming to the inside of Avery Wilson now. He's not close enough to make anything happen just yet. It looks like there's a good fight going on here. Tommy Ryan still in the lead, gets about a car length on Andrew Mraz now, but they're going fast enough to make that draft work for them. That's why you see them positioning themselves behind the other guy on the straights. And then in the turns, you might see some guys stepping out a little bit to get some wind on that nose, to get the front wheels to grip a little bit better. There we see Matt Miller on the inside of Jason Branch, and it looks like he comes alongside. Jason runs a little bit wide there to be safe, and that allows Mike Perry to come underneath there as well. Andrew Moore also there, right behind the number 2 car of Mike Perry. And it looks like Mraz is back at it again here with Tommy Ryan. The number 18 car of Avery Wilson coming along and underneath there as well. The top 3 drivers have a couple of car lengths on Matt Miller, who's now in 4th position, with Perry behind him. Jason Branch hanging on to 6th position there. Looked like he was a little bit caught out on that high side. Mraz in front, Tommy Ryan, Avery Wilson, Matt Miller, Mike Perry, Jason Branch, Andrew Moore, Casey Duncan, Randy Bledsoe, and then a little bit further it's David Dolliver. Once again, now it's Andrew Mraz picking up the lead with Tommy Ryan in 2nd and Avery Wilson to his inside there. The 78 of Matt Miller trying to get that draft behind the number 18 car, hoping to be a factor in here as well. And it looks like he is closing in on him, and he is bringing along with him Mike Perry, and they're still holding off Jason Branch, who's trying to fight back for the lost positions. Ooh, it looks like Avery Wilson caught the wall there a little bit. Matt Miller, stepping out there with Mike Perry. And it looks like Avery Wilson got caught out by that touching of the wall, and he is dropping back to 5th position. That means that Matt Miller is now in 3rd, and Mike Perry is working hard to take that away from him. And it looks like Wilson didn't lose too much in total because he's still back up to speed. He just had 1 or 2 positions lost there. He's coming to the inside. No, tucking right there behind it. Jason Branch and Andrew Moore following. Now it looks like Wilson runs a little bit wide, and that allows Jason Branch to get underneath him. And Jason is trying to pull along Andrew Moore, whether he likes it or not. Tommy Ryan in front. Looks like he's got a bit of a, well, maybe half a car length, maybe 1 car length on Andrew Mraz in the black and white car there. Mike Perry in third, and then they're still scraping that wall. They're awful close, it looks like. There's a little bit of breathing room between Perry and Matt Miller in fourth, and it's Wilson in fifth, Jason Branch in sixth, Andrew Moore trying to get underneath Branch. Some of the guys choose to get on the apron there in the tri-oval. Always a little bit tricky, although the banking is not all that steep there. Coming back, transitioning from the apron to the banking can get you off guard really easy. We see Bledsoe and Duncan, and it looks like David Dolliver is also catching up to this group together with Randy Yoakum and Marshall Stanley. Randy Perdue is a little bit further back. Then it's Ryan Nicoletta and Ron Schutte. Brian Rainville a little bit further back. Jeff Ryan in the iRacing livery. Jordan Berry in the 7 car. There he is. Guy Snyder in 19th with Indiana Wise behind him in 20th. A little bit further back it's Matthias. Then it's Findlay and Nicoletta. And that rounds out your field. And it looks like Andrew Moore and Branch have switched places here. It's Andrew Moore picking up 6th position. And as you can tell, 17 laps into this race, and stuff is still heating up. And the cars are still side by side. And that tells us that what we saw in qualifying, the entire field within a half a second, this is very, very competitive stuff. And hats off to these guys, because the first 17 laps without any incident, that tells me that they're giving each other the room to race, and they're very respectful of each other. Obviously they want to beat each other, but they don't want to take each other out, and they give each other the room. Spotter is essential here, listening to your spotter. And for that reason, there are several aftermarket spotter packages available for iRacing drivers, so they can get a little bit better information. There we see Matt Miller stepping out, trying to get past Avery Wilson, and looks like he's getting underneath there with Andrew Moore right behind him. Well, he's not quite close enough. The white and red car there, that is Randy Bledsoe, and he's right in front of David Dolliver and Mike and Marshall Stanley. And back up at the front, it's still Tommy Ryan, Andrew Mraz, and Mike Perry. That's the fight for the lead here. And there you see how close it is. The 0.2 of a second, 1/10 of a second. I tell you folks, that's just the blink of an eye, and he's there. You cannot afford to make any mistakes. You got to keep it smooth and straight. You can't scrape the wall like Tommy Ryan is doing there, and you got to be so careful. It looks like Mike Perry and Mraz are maybe trying to work together a little bit. It looks like Tommy Ryan's got a couple of car lengths on him now, and that might be tires just starting to become a factor, and it looks like these guys are going into the pits, and that might be a tactical move. Well, fuel was about 20 to 23 laps, so they're starting to run out. Andrew Mraz and Mike Perry, the first takers on pit road, with Bledsoe, Ryan Nicoletta, I should say, Jordan Berry, Brian Rainville, and John Findlay are all coming into the pits, and we expect the other guys to be coming in here shortly. As said, we have only a pit window of 20 to 23 laps, and we're already on lap 21 in this race. There you see your leader coming in, Tommy Ryan, and that brings Avery Wilson back up into the lead, fighting there together with Andrew Moore. They haven't pitted yet. They're still having fun out there, and it looks like the tires are not their issue in a short fuel stint like this. If they can stretch it a couple of more laps and they have the look of a yellow coming out, that would definitely be to their advantage. In third place, it's now the target car of Casey Duncan with Marshall Stanley behind him and Randy Yoakum in fifth. Schutte and Perdue, Schneider and Wise. And of course, these guys are all going to have to pit. The first guy, let me see. The first driver that has already pitted out on track, that is Andrew Mraz with Mike Perry, about 0.8 of a second behind him. So Mraz is now working his way around the cars that haven't pitted yet. And that's the difference between brand new tires and older tires for you. And I'm kind of surprised that those guys are hanging on that long. Already 24 laps on that fuel stint, so Indiana Wise looks like he can't hold on that much longer. There you see Tommy Ryan working his way around those guys, and once again, that's just the difference between new tires for Tommy Ryan and old tires for Indiana Wise, and it looks like Indiana's still staying out there. Oh, he's getting good fuel mileage, it looks like. Avery Wilson now in, Randy Yoakum, Guy Schneider. Randy Perdue is already on his way back out. Matthias still out there, Moore still out there. He's the current leader. And like I said, the first guy that has pitted is Andrew Mraz. There we see the 28. And that is Ron Schutte coming into the pits. Casey Duncan still out there, picks up the lead as Moore goes into the pits. Moore and Stanley going in. Schutte now also in. Matthias also in. And it's Casey Duncan in the lead with Indiana Wise in second position. But once again, we are expecting those guys to be coming into the pits any moment now. I will say, if the expectation was 20 to 23 laps and they're running 26, then they're getting really decent fuel mileage. But it's not going to be enough to take them to that first stage at lap 30. They're coming in, and that means that Andrew Mraz is picking the lead up here on lap number 26. Mike Perry is your second car, the number 2, and then it's Tommy Ryan and Jason Branch. And those pit stops obviously have pulled the field apart a little bit. All the gaps between the drivers have increased somewhat. Close battles on the track here are with Brian Rainville and Nicoletta for the 8th and 9th position. We've seen everybody in the pits now, and it looks like Casey Duncan has come back in right around 15th position. Jordan Berry in the number 7 car, he has pitted on lap 20. He's currently running in 23rd position. And up front, it's Andrew Mraz. He's got about a half a second on Mike Perry. And then it's about 0.8 of a second to Tommy Ryan. And then another almost 3 seconds to Jason Branch. Another second and a half to Randy Bledsoe, Matt Miller. Miller and Ryan Nicoletta and Avery Wilson are right there together for 6th, 7th, and 8th position. And then it's Rainville in 9th and Jeff Ryan in 10th. There you have the battle for 6th, 7th, and 8th. And it looks like Perry is closing in rapidly on Andrew Mraz. They're going to be dealing with back markers fairly quickly here. Perry now coming to the inside. Ooh, they're awfully close together there. But it's Mraz hanging on to that lead currently. And Mike Perry just slotting right back behind him to try and catch that draft. Slower cars look like they're stepping aside to let the leaders race. Perry once again underneath there. And he still can't get it done. It looks like Andrew Mraz has good momentum there on that higher side. And right there behind him, we see Tommy Ryan also closing in. So the top 3 drivers there are closing in on each other. Mike Perry now picks up that lead on the higher side. And he's trying to pull Tommy Ryan with him. Mraz on the lower side has the advantage of less distance to travel. Ooh, and they're almost going side by side, 3 wide there. Now it's Mike Perry definitely picking up that lead, with Tommy Ryan picking up 2nd position and Andrew Mraz dropping back here to 3rd. Makes you wonder if he asked a little bit too much of those tires right out of the box. But they're clinging together here. Perry walking away a little bit by about 1/4 of a second, and then Tommy Ryan and Mraz seem to be hanging on to each other. Further back, about 3.5 seconds, it's Jason Branch by himself, then it's Randy Bledsoe by himself, and then we see Wilson, Miller, and Rainville, and they're duking it out here together, close together, 6th, 7th, and 8th position, and then it's Ryan Nicoletta, David Dolliver, and Jeff Ryan also fairly close together there, with Randy Perdue coming underneath Jeff Ryan now to take that position away from him, and that is for 12th and 13th position. Jeff Ryan dropping back to 14th. Let's bring her back up front here, because Tommy Ryan is trying to work his way around Mike Perry, and it looks like he's having success. He's slotting to that inside there, picking up the lead from Mike Perry. Lap 33, so apologize, but we did miss that first stage. It was either Ryan Perry or Mraz. Ryan and Perry there side by side for the lead, and it looks like Andrew Mraz has a back marker dealing with him, and that looks like John Faintley. His number says 92. On your scoring there on the left, it says 297. That's incorrect. Tommy Ryan and Mike Perry going at it. Mike Perry slotting in there, trying to get the maximum out of the draft. Ooh, and it looks like he slows down there a little bit, losing a couple of car lengths on the entry of turn 1 and 2 there. Mraz scraping the wall. Branch still, ooh, looks like Branch is starting to close in on Andrew Mraz. It was over 3 seconds. It's 2.8 now. And let's go check on Avery Wilson. And Randy Bledsoe has worked his way forward in that group. Or has he been caught up? I believe he's getting caught up here with Wilson on the lower side. Bledsoe now in 6th, Miller in 7th. Brian Rainville is leading the little group here with Dolliver, Moore, and Stanley. And then Randy Perdue is on the tail end of that with Randy Yoakum, and we see Kevin Nicoletta coming in on lap 36. I wonder what happened to him. Did he have an incident? No, we have had no drivers with incidents at all. So I'm not sure what the deal is, but he might be opting to go off sequence a little bit to get some new tires. There we see Tommy Ryan and Mike Perry once again side by side coming down the backstretch towards turn 3 and 4. And once again, it looks like these guys have good grip out here tonight. Nice and cool track, no slip sliding around. Trying to draft each other, swapping positions. Andrew Mraz and Jason Branch. It doesn't look like Jason has nibbled off more of that deficit he had. It was 2.8 last time we checked, and it's still 2.8. Then we have Avery Wilson. Matt Miller has now also passed Bledsoe. Bledsoe now in 7th. Stanley looks like he dropped back a little bit towards Andrew Moore, and they're fighting for 8th and 9th. Then it's Randy Yoakum, Randy Perdue, Ron Schutte, and David Dolliver. That's the black and yellow car. Then it's Brian Rainville, Casey Duncan, Jeff Ryan, Ryan Nicoletta, Indiana Wise in 18th position, Guy Schneider in 19th, Matthias in 20th, and it's Findlay in 21st. Ooh, and it looks like somebody has an issue with their connection, and I hope it's not me. That doesn't look like it's me. Sorry about that, little hiccup there. in the back of the field. And we also still have Jordan Berry running in 22nd position, and it looks like he's struggling a little bit tonight. Let's bring her back up front. It's Mike Perry in front of Tommy Ryan. And it looks like finally Mike is pulling away a little bit. Already coming up on lap 40, so we're going to be getting close to the second round of pit stops already. Tommy Ryan in second. Andrew Mraz is the first one back in for new tires and more fuel. And he's the only one right now. And that brings Avery Wilson into the third spot there, the number 18 car, and it looks like he's caught up with Jason Branch, and he puts Jason Branch in fourth. Jason trying to fight back on that inside there in the Navy car. Jason himself, a Navy veteran. Randy Bledsoe in the fifth position with Miller on this in the 78 right behind him. The guy they're passing there is a back marker. Marshall Stanley there, and now we see Brian Rainville also coming in the pits as we see Andrew Mraz going back out, and that drops him down the order. Obviously, that's going to even itself out very quickly. He is the first one in. Ryan Nicoletta now also coming in for his service. And Mike Perry is the first one of the top drivers here, and it looks like Tommy follows him in there. And that brings Wilson in the lead. Lap 43, so that fuel window of 20 to 23 laps is pretty accurate. Although some of the guys, as we saw earlier, have run a little bit more. Branch is in, Miller is in, Dolliver is in, Ryan is in. Oh, a lot of guys in the pits here. Tommy Ryan in front there to see who beats who out. And it looks like Perry is the first one out, and it looks like Perry beats Tommy Ryan out by just a car length. There they go. They're going to go back at it again. And there we see Randy Bledsoe coming in. And meanwhile, it is Avery Wilson leading the race in front of Marshall Stanley, who has passed Andrew Moore. And Randy Yoakum is there. Ron Schutte, Casey Duncan, and Randy Perdue. Indiana Wise now in 8th, and Guy Schneider is in 9th, Matthias in 10th. So the first guys with the 2 pit stops, that is Mike Perry, and Mike has Andrew Mraz right there behind him, and also Tommy Ryan. So the top 3 drivers, as far as the importance of the positions is concerned, these are the ones that have already pitted for the second time, and unless the other guys will do so very quickly, I'm sure, and that means that they'll be that these 3 guys will be leading the race once again. It looks like Mike Perry and Tommy Ryan and Andrew Mraz right there close together, trying to work their way around the slower cars on these fresher tires now. Ryan trying to get a draft there from the 77 car. And the tricky part is going to be that the guys that have not pitted yet are running that high side. So if they want to get in, they have to be careful not to ruin the race of anybody that's already been in. The leader of the race is still Avery Wilson, but once again, not pitted yet. And right there behind Avery Wilson, you can see the leaders coming up, or the guys that have pitted. And that means that a green flag pit stop basically costs you a lap. And that obviously comes as no surprise. So let's bring out Perry there once again. It looks like he's a little bit clear of back markers now. It looked like Tommy Ryan had a little bit more trouble getting around those guys. And obviously he can't claim anything like, hey, I'm the leader, get out of the way, because he's not the leader. It's actually Marshall Stanley that picked up the lead from Avery Wilson while all that was happening. Jordan Berry coming in for his second stop. Avery Wilson and Marshall Stanley are fighting for that race. And at this point, they're both coming in And it looks like Wilson beats him into pit lane. Randy Perdue also coming in. So that means that Casey Duncan picks up the lead in front of Ron Schutte and Andrew Moore. All three together there. Randy Yoakum is a little bit further back. And let's go check on Mike Perry. He is still in front of Tommy Ryan and Andrew Mraz. Andrew Mraz and Tommy Ryan there together. And they'll be climbing back up to the top of the order as everybody rounds out their pit stops. Already back up in 8th. Running behind the number 5 car of Matthias, or 93 I should say. Randy Yoakum now into the pits. And Casey Duncan still out there. Indiana Wise in 5th, still out there. And it looks like Indiana Wise in 5th is the last car in that top group that hasn't pitted yet. It looks like Andrew Moore is now coming in. Randy Yoakum is coming in. Oh, I'm sorry, he's already been there. He's coming back out. It's Andrew Moore and Guy Schneider that are coming in. So we expect Duncan, Schutte, and Wise to come in pretty quickly here. But once again, it looks like they're stretching that fuel a little bit further than the others. And that is kind of interesting. They might be taking advantage of the draft a little bit better. Or just, I don't know, easier on the gas, I don't know. But they seem to be able to stretch that fuel stint to more than 25 laps. Whereas the others are coming in at about 23. Indiana Wise picks up the lead here by simply staying out and stretching that fuel to over 25 laps. So he's doing something different than the other guys. He's now the only one that still has to pit the second time. And it looks like he's doing so as we look at him. There you have it, Indiana Wise also coming back into the pits. And meanwhile, it is Tommy Ryan that has passed Mike Perry, and that means that Tommy Ryan is going to pick up the lead here with Mike Perry in 2nd and Andrew Mraz a little bit further back there in 4th. Then we see Jason Branch in 5th, Matt Miller is in 6th, Randy Bledsoe is in 7th, and Dave Dolliver is in 8th. So Ryan, Perry, and Mraz, your top 3 drivers there, back at it again. Indiana Wise coming out of the pits. No, not yet. He's coming out now. There he goes. And he'll be coming back out. Oh, he's going to be back out in 18th position, it looked like. And here we have another battle for the lead developing as Mike Perry is right on the tail of Tommy Ryan. There we ride along with Mike Perry, following that Patriot Fire car of Tommy Ryan. There they come by. That is Indiana Wise that they're coming up to. Now a back marker trying to get back up to speed after his pit stop, and it looks like Mike Perry is coming to the inside there. There you have him coming across the line side by 200ths of a second. It is Mike Perry coming across the line first on lap 55. No incidents yet, no yellows, pretty good stuff. And that tells you that these guys have no problems with the tires. The fuel stint is short enough to give them fresh rubber every time. And in the end, we might actually see some guys opting to just take 2 tires to gain some track position if that is going to work for them. Kevin Nicoletta looking to come into the pits. He was off sequence, so he will still be off sequence, obviously. Mike Perry in the lead here, Tommy Ryan in 2nd, and Andrew Mraz is now about 4.3 seconds behind these guys. So let's focus here on Tommy. Let's ride along with Tommy here. Into the tri-oval, closing in under the draft. Looking to see where he can go. And it looks like he just decides to stay right behind that number 2 car. coming on the backstretch off of turn 2. You can tell by the hand movements that they have no problem with grip whatsoever. And that is partly explaining that we have no yellows, that there are no incidents. They can just focus on racing each other. Once again, coming back around, lap 58. They'll be going. They'll be going into lap 59 here next time around. I was a little confused of where we are on the track. And we can actually show you where we are on the track. Let's go take a look at how the field is completely stretched out now. Small groups of cars, as you can see there. We are currently riding with the number 2 car. And that is, let me see, the number 2 and the number 6. They're now coming onto the backstretch on the top of your visual there. The number 6 of Tommy Byrne is the car we're looking at. We can take a look at the number 2 here of Mike Perry. And then you see quite a gap to Andrew Mraz in the 28 car. So that tells you that we have a pretty good stretched out field. Little groups here and there. Matt Miller right behind Jason Branch now. Looks like he's closing in. Miller doing a good job. Avery Wilson in the number 18 being passed here by Stanley on the inside into 44. That is for 6th and 7th position. Jeff Ryan here with the number 17 of Casey Duncan going around him. And then it's, it looks like Jeff Ryan's a little bit in trouble because it's Ron Schutte going by him there fairly easy. Not sure what the deal is. Stanley and Wilson fighting for that 6th and 7th position. Ryan Nicoletta going into the pits. Wilson and Stanley for 6th and 7th side by side. And it looks like a little bit further up front, Matt Miller has passed Jason Branch. And we see Andrew Mraz going into the pits as the first driver. He's kind of sticking to that 20-21 lap window here, lap 62, and he's coming back in. He's the first one once again. Mike Perry and Tommy Ryan. Perry still in front. Matt Miller is now in 3rd. It's Jason Branch in 4th. It's Marshall Stanley and Avery Wilson. And we have David Dolliver. He's just being passed by Randy Perdue here. Miller going into the pits with Jason Branch right behind him. They were fighting for position. They're going into the pits together. David Dolliver coming into the pits as well, and Rainville is already on his way out. Perry and Ryan, the other Ryan, still there, leading the race. Stanley now in 3rd with Avery Wilson right behind him. Wilson going down on the inside of the 44 and picking up that 3rd position. Mraz has come out in 14th. Perry and Ryan still for the lead. Stanley and Wilson together here for 3rd and 4th position. The 44 still has it on that higher side. Wilson going underneath on the apron. It looks like Stanley places that car in front of him. Randy Perdue, Randy Bledsoe, Moore, and Jochim. Moore is now challenging Jochim. I'm sorry, Moore is challenging Bledsoe there. He's leading this group, and in front of him it's Randy Perdue. And what is going on with Randy? Randy Bledsoe dropping back a little bit there. It looked to me like he was going to slow down to go into pits almost, but not. Ryan is in front of Mike Perry once again. And the 92 up high there, a back marker. He's making way for the leaders, trying to stay out of the way. Mike Perry right behind Tommy Ryan. And he's just hanging on there in the draft. We're probably contemplating if the first guy goes in, I'll follow him in. Nope, it looks like Mike Perry is making that decision first, going into the pits here. And he's leaving Tommy Ryan out there by himself. So that brings Marshall Stanley and Avery Wilson to the second and third position. Randy Perdue. And Randy Perdue, you see him going up to Miraz in the white car, but that is not for position because Miraz has already pitted, and he is currently in the 14th position. The 44 of Marshall Stanley, followed by Avery Wilson and Randy Perdue. Andrew Moore there in the 5th position with Randy Yoakum in 6th. Tommy Ryan going into the pits. There's your leader into the pits, which means that Marshall Stanley picks up the lead for now. Let's go back and see Marshall here, and he's got Avery Wilson, Randy Perdue right there with him, and they are now leading the race. And we'll have to watch out and see where Tommy comes out compared to Miraz, because it looks like Miraz is in front of Perry. And that is interesting. The pit stop, the earlier pit stop of Miraz has brought him in front of Mike Perry. Perry is about 7/10 of a second behind him, and Tommy Ryan is about a second behind Mike Perry. Currently running 10th, 11th, and 12th, but once again, we are expecting everybody in front of them to pit in their green as well. We're on lap 70. We still have at least one more pit stop to go. Still no yellows. Beautiful race. Avery Wilson passing Randy Perdue and Marshall Stanley. It looks like Wilson is now your leader. Randy Perdue, oh, and as we speak, there is your first yellow. It's Marshall Stanley coming together there with another car, I believe. Let's go find out what, oh, it's Miller. Let's bring it back a little bit further here, the 44, and watch the blue and black car on the inside, the 78 of Miller. At the moment, the 44 wants to go underneath another car. That nose of Miller is already alongside, and it sends the 44 spinning around. And that brings out our first caution. And that is good news for the people that waited with the pitting, because their pit stop is not going to cost them as much, and the ones that pitted under green have lost a lap on them, if not more. So this is interesting to see how this will play out. First, we got to wait for everybody to slow back down behind the pace car, and then we'll see a bunch of guys going into the pits. Expectedly, the first 9 positions will definitely be going in. The other ones, it's not early, it's not late enough for them to pit and try to make it to the end. We have 29 laps to go to the end, and they're not going to make that on the pit stops if they would do them now. So I'm not sure if they would want to risk that, but they will. They're all going in. It looks like everybody's going in, and that is interesting because that means that Miraz and Perry and Ryan, they're kind of putting themselves in the back of the top 12 there. They will not gain a whole lot of track position here, and that pit stop under green is costly now. Anytime anybody can hold off long enough to pit under yellow, they're gonna have an advantage. You see the 44 had the benefit of the quick repair there, The pit stop is no longer than anybody else's. The 44 comes out with a brand new car and fresh tires and fuel like everybody else, so that crash didn't hurt him all that much. He's still running in 7th position. And your leader with the pit stops done is Avery Wilson, with in 2nd place Randy Perdue. Then in 3rd, it's the target car of Casey Duncan. Andrew Moore is 4th, Ron Schutte is 5th, Marshall Stanley 6th, Jason Branch is 7th, Andrew Mraz is 8th, Schneider is 9th, Tommy Ryan is 10th, Indiana Wise is now 11th, and it looks to me like he's still going into the pits maybe, I'm not sure. And Randy Yoakum is 13th, and then it's Miller Dolliver going into the pits. They were a lap down on the leader, so they had to wait. We see Jason Branch going into the pits, and that would be his 4th pit stop, I believe. That's a little bit puzzling. Jordan Berry is still out there in the number 7 car. He's currently in 21st position. John Findlay in 22nd. They are in front of the leaders here, behind the pace car. We see Nicolette there in the police livery. That is Kevin, I believe. No, that's the other one. That's Ryan Nicoletta. Kevin Nicoletta is in the white number 41. He's also there behind the pace car. Jason Branch back out. Rainville back out. Miller is still waiting on the service to finish. Lap 74. So for everybody that has pitted, we're probably not going to go racing until lap 75 or 76. It's going to be a stretch. They're probably going to need a splash and dash or a yellow. It's going to be a stretch. We've seen some people do 26 laps on fuel. Indiana Wise was one of them. I'm not sure if they can all do that. So that's going to be a little bit of a wait and see situation here. Most of these guys up front have not run 26 laps on a fuel stint. Let's see if we can bring that up. Perdue has run a longest stint of 25 laps, so that would be possible. That would be possible. There you can see Schutte has done a 26 lap stint. It's not impossible. Of course, we've got a couple of yellow laps on that fuel already. That doesn't mean that much. But it is possible, maybe, to finish the race. It's going to be close. Your leader is Avery Wilson in the number 18 car. The 2nd place is in the hands of Randy Perdue. Casey Duncan in the target car is 3rd, and Moore is 4th, and then it's Ron Schutte in 5th. Andrew Mraz is in 7th, behind Marshall Stanley, and then Tommy Ryan is in 9th. He's behind Guy Schneider in the Golf car there. Then Mike Perry is right behind him, and Randy Yoakum is your 11th driver. Indiana Wise is 12th, and that means that Indiana Wise has brought it back up there a little bit. So he benefited from this yellow. Jason Branch behind him in 13th, and it's Ryan Nicoletta, but Ryan is in front of the group there, and they're going to get a wave around here fairly soon. Tommy Ryan going back in. Ooh, that means he's worried about fuel. He's topping it off. He's topping it off. And the same is true for Yoakum, Wise, and Branch. They're topping it off. They're worried about the fuel. Jeff Ryan is doing the same thing. Brian Rainville, David Dolliver, they're further back in the field, so the significance there is a little bit less. But yeah, this is surprising. They're worried about the fuel, and they're expecting the other guys not to make it. The lights on the pace car seem to be out. It's a little hard to tell on that truck. Yes, I believe so. The guys are lining them up, so Tommy Ryan, Jason Branch, they're going to be at the back of the pack. But they are evidently they were worried about the fuel. They topped it off before we're going to racing. So if nothing comes up as far as incidents and yellows is concerned, then it's going to be a tight race for Wilson and Perdue and Duncan and Moore, and even Miraz did not go back in. So yeah, it's going to be difficult. Mike Perry didn't come in, or at least not here at the end of this yellow. So it's going to get close for fuel. A yellow will definitely save them. Avery Wilson's on the gas. We are going back to racing. It looks like Wilson has a good jump on the field with Randy Perdue in second place. Casey Duncan already right behind him and challenging for that second spot on the inside line. Then it's the 44 of Stanley and the 77 of Moore right behind him. Stanley picks up fourth position. And behind there, we see Ron Schutte, Guy Snyder, and Andrew Miraz is already working his way through there. It looks like he's coming to the inside of both Schutte and Snyder there. And he picks up 2 positions in one turn, pushing it up into sixth. And let's check on Wilson here. Casey Duncan has passed Marshall Stanley also. He's running into second position now. Marshall Stanley in third. Randy Perdue is in fourth. Andrew Moore is in fifth. And Miraz is already on the chase there in the sixth position. And as far as I know, Avery Wilson is not a playoff 16, a Sweet 16 driver. No, he's not. So that would mean that that one guaranteed spot with a win to the next round is already souped up by somebody who can't win it. Miraz is running the best lap time in the race currently there in sixth position, obviously benefiting from the draft. And it looks to me like the pace is fairly high up front here. Casey Duncan being under threat of Randy Perdue now. Marshall Stanley has passed him for second place. Andrew Moore in the orange car is fifth. Let's keep an eye on Miraz there. Miraz is coming to the outside of the 77. Can he do anything? Oh, he's getting alongside, it looks like. But he's on that higher side. Maybe he'll get a little bit more momentum coming off of that turn. It looks like he picks up fifth position in front of Andrew Moore. Randy Perdue now chasing after Casey Duncan. It looks like Duncan has a little bit more trouble keeping up with Stanley and Wilson. Wilson is seeing that blue car of Stanley grow in his mirrors. Stanley is quicker than Wilson at this point, although it is not by much. But he's gaining on the leader. Wilson running a little bit wider line there, and the 44 slotting in behind him for that draft. And it looks like Miraz is starting to work on Perdue. And Moore is not giving up either. Miraz on the high side now. And he runs that car really well there. He's got a little bit more momentum, and he also has the tow from the 17. So he picks up fourth position. That is good work. Miraz in fourth. Let's check on Mike Perry. He's still in eighth. Tommy Ryan is in 11th. They're hoping for people to run out of fuel. Lap 83. Marshall is has a bit of a gap towards Duncan, but he's still not close enough within striking distance of Wilson. There's a couple of car lengths between there, and Wilson has that line covered. Duncan a little bit further back. Miraz closing in on Duncan, going underneath the yellow line. And it looks like Andrew Miraz is picking up third position here. Yes, indeed. Slots in front of the number 17 car. And now it's going to be interesting to see, because Andrew Miraz is actually quicker than Marshall Stanley, and also on equal terms with Avery Wilson as far as lap times is concerned. And there you see Marshall Stanley trying to close in and be meaningful here towards Wilson. And if we look out of his gearbox, there we see Andrew Mraz coming at us in the white car with Casey Duncan in the red car behind him. Marshall Stanley in the number 44. And this whole group behind those guys in a string together. Andrew Mraz, Casey Duncan, Andrew Moore, Mike Perry in 6th position now. He's starting to be a factor here. He has passed Randy Perdue. And he's closing in on Andrew Moore. We see Ryan Nicoletta coming into the pits. That sounded awful quiet there. We see John Findlay coming into the pits. That tells you that something. Still, I have no incident recordings of any kind. And you would think that I would have one, because there was one incident. And that was with this guy, Marshall Stanley, but iRacing did not record that. Mraz in 3rd with Casey Duncan behind him and Andrew Moore. And then Mike Perry starting to become a factor in this group. Avery Wilson hanging on to that lead. And he does not have any draft. He catches all that wind by himself. So what does that mean for his fuel consumption? Lap 88. If they're going to run out, it's going to be lap 95, 96 or something like that. They may need that splash. And like I said, yellow will definitely save them. And then, with the yellow, then you get the choice. Do you just sit it out on track and save your position, or do you go into the pits and make sure you're going to make it? Questions, questions, questions. Mike Perry now passing Duncan on the inside there, picking up 4th position. That puts him right behind Andrew Mraz, and he's been racing that guy since the beginning of this race. Andrew Moore is coming under attack from Randy Perdue. Side by side. Can Perdue get alongside? He is alongside, but can he get past? No, not yet. Andrew Mraz and Mike Perry close together here now. That is 3rd and 4th position. Looks like Mike is trying to get alongside there. Ooh, it looked like they touched there for a little bit, or maybe not. Maybe it was just a turbulence. Mike Perry hanging there with Mraz, trying to get underneath him, trying to get on top of him. He's not sure where to go. Mraz covering that inside line. And it looks like he wanted to go underneath, and now he's doing it. And it looks like they're closing in on Stanley as well. Stanley dropping back about a second. Ooh, they scraped the wall there. That was Mraz, I believe, that scraped the wall and sent sparks flying. Marshall still in 2nd, but Mike Perry and Mraz are closing in on him. It looks like Stanley is having a little bit more trouble to keep up with Avery Wilson. And once again, we'll have to worry about the fuel here for Wilson especially. He has not had a tow from anybody. He's on his own. He's got to break all that wind himself. Perry in the STP car there in the 3rd spot. Right behind the number 44. Let's quickly ride along with him here. That is Mike Stanley you're riding with. He's in 2nd. And we're jumping into Mike Perry's car here, and now he's coming to the outside of the 44. Not quite alongside yet. And it looks like Guy Schneider is interfering here in the 2nd group. He's past Randy Bledsoe, and he's now right behind Casey Duncan. Tommy Ryan in the back end there, right behind Randy Yoakum. He's still stuck in 11th place. He's not been able to get past there. Indiana Wise in 13th. Jason Branch in 12th. Those guys are having a little bit more trouble. Let's bring her back up front. Avery Wilson still out in front. We're on lap 94. Fuel is going to be showing soon if they can make it or if they cannot. It's going to be tight for all of them. Oh, there we have Miraz once again. Looked like he was once again into the wall. And Guy Snyder is... Ooh, that's not nice. Giving him a little bit of a tap there. But Guy Snyder is really fast. He's running better laps than most of these guys up front. He is now in 4th position. Mike Perry has passed Stanley. See if we can bring that back real quick. Nope, it's already happened. And it looks like Perry is now right behind Wilson. Perry going for that inside. He was just a little bit quicker on the last lap, and it looks like Mike Perry picks up the lead here on lap 96. Avery Wilson. How's the fuel situation? We see Randy Bledsoe go in. He's running out of fuel. Mike Perry in the lead. Avery Wilson still with him there, right alongside, side by side. And it's Wilson now picking up the lead into the tri-oval. Stanley hanging with him. Perry in second now. And then further back you see Guy Snyder, Casey Duncan, Randy Perdue. One taker on pit road, Randy Bledsoe, lap 97. 4 more laps to go. Can they make it? Perry on the inside once again. Avery Wilson on the outside. And then Guy Snyder challenging Stanley right behind there. They're side by side for 3rd and 4th. I'm amazed by that Snyder. He's been in the mid of the pack and he worked his way back up to the front there at the end. And now he's challenging Stanley for 3rd spot. Mike Perry and it's Stanley and Wilson also side by side. Schneider getting into that mix. It looks like Avery Wilson has used up those tires maybe compared to the other guys. Lap 98 going into 99. 2 more laps to go. Can they make it on fuel? Will we see sudden slowdowns of people running out? Mike Perry is in front. Maybe they're going to make it. Like I said, we've seen guys run 25, 26 laps, so Mike Perry pitted on lap 72. Of course, there was a few yellow laps behind that before we went racing. Stanley now in second. Wilson, they're getting the white flag here. It's Mike Perry. Mike Perry in front with Stanley in second and Wilson fighting for that second position to hang on. There we see Nicoletta slowing down on the apron. Is he running out of fuel? How's the fuel situation here for anybody? How's it working? Stanley in second. Wilson still on the lower side. It looks like Wilson's running out of fuel. Wilson's running out of fuel. Casey Duncan picks up 3rd position. Oh, and then we're having an incident coming towards the flag here. What a finish. What a finish. Ron Schutte had an incident going. As they're going towards the finish, it looks like Ron Schutte touches the 29 there of Perdue and rolls to the outside against the wall. He makes it across the line, but only just. What a finish. Mike Perry, your winner. Marshall Stanley in the 2nd place. Is he running out of fuel on the outlap? It kind of looks like it. Casey Duncan, he is your 3rd place finisher. And it looks like it's a lot quieter now. There's a lot of guys running out of fuel, I think, on the outlap here. We'll have to ask them. What a finish. Now, let's bring up your results here, and then we'll go and find some people to talk to. If my voice keeps up. Yeah, let's go find Mike. I'm sure Mike is burning some rubber there. There you have him, right here on the start finish line in Kentucky. Smoked that back end. I'm sure there's not much fuel left and not much tire left. Is that engine still running? I'm not sure. We'll ask him if he ran out of fuel blowing those tires up. That's amazing. That is some race here. Okay, let's see who we can find. Mike Perry, this is Mark in the booth. Can you hear me? Mike, this is Mark in the booth. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Mark, I got you.
Ah, there you are. Mike, what a finish is this? How was your fuel situation?
Just ran out doing the victory celebration there, so
I was just
it was close.
I was just going to ask you that because all of a sudden you stopped there and the car rolled backwards a little bit and it was quiet and I'm thinking, oh boy, he burnt the last fuel on donuts there. You were surprisingly fast after that pit stop on lap 72. It took you a little bit to get a bit towards, I don't know, a sixth and fifth position, but once you were in that group, you worked your way forward pretty easily. Was it just a matter of working through traffic there?
I was a little bit concerned because stuck back in traffic. I don't know where we restarted, but it took a little bit to get going because, uh, like I said, I was just saving tires just a little bit. But as the laps ticked down, I thought I didn't have much time to get going. So
Yeah, I think you came back when we got back started again. You were like I believe you were 10th or ninth or something like that, and it took you a little bit to get through the first three, four to pass those, and then once you got to fifth and you caught up with Duncan and Purdue there, it looked like it was fairly smooth sailing from there, and then working your way towards. What did Wilson run out of fuel on track? Do you believe?
I'm not sure, Mark.
Well, I mean, you were up front there the first part of the race as well. It looked like you guys had pretty good grip here tonight, and no really slip sliding around on the track. Very few incidents. Everything must have felt pretty good here tonight.
Yeah, it really did. Turns 1 and 2 had a lot of grip. You can overdrive 3 very easily. So, I mean, that was a little bit tight down in those corners. So you had to manage that pretty carefully. But I tell you what, me and I believe Tommy Ryan and Andrew put on a heck of a show about
Abs-
middle of
yeah,
the race there. So it was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a lot of fun to watch, and it was kind of you guys were so even. It was kind of swapping positions back and forth, and between the three of you, and that was a lot of fun to watch. And then the yellow kind of came at the wrong moment. You guys had already pitted, and the other guys. That were running up front, you guys came back, I believe, somewhere in like 11th or 12th, and then all the other guys went and pitted under yellow, basically, and that's kind of what set you back, isn't it?
It is. I was actually going to pit. I believe Tommy pitted right before that last green flag, and
Yep.
I was on the fence there. So luckily, it turned out.
Yeah, I mean, mostly you guys were pitting in the beginning of the race. It was like 21, 22 laps, and you went into the pits. There was a few drivers that stretched it to 26. So when I saw lap 72 was your last pit stop, and of course there's two or three yellow laps behind that, but still that's still stretching it. But you made it, and you ran out when it didn't matter anymore.
Yeah, I was pretty darn fortunate. I was shutting off underneath those caution lamps a lot, so worked out well. I gotta say thanks to my teammates David and Matt. I got into the practice session a little bit late, so they helped me out a lot tonight. So I appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Anybody else you want to thank out there?
Well, just you, man, for putting it on. Like I said, I got a lot of family members that watch this, so really appreciate it. It's
I
always
hope
fun.
I hope they enjoyed it, and I'm sure they did with a good result for you. Congratulations once again, Mike. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mark.
Marshall, second place.
Hey, how's it going?
How are you doing, man? You must be pretty happy.
Um, Let me say that this was a very eventful race for everybody. I'm really proud of just everybody league wide of being able to have so much fun on that 70 lap green flag run because the strategy, the comers and goers, and the strategy and everything was so much fun. And at least for me, with having not a good qualifying, I was kind of hoping if I could extend a little bit with the tire. I had a feeling I could at least catch it on a caution or something. And sadly, the caution was me. But
Yeah. Well, what happened there, Marshall?
so it was just more managing tires. I could kind of tell like me and Avery were kind of in the same boat as far as tire wear. And I was just kind of along those lines. Like if I could get a run, I would take it. If not, like it was a little bit of give and take just because we both knew we had used up our stuff. And I think it was the 78 kind of came out of two. And I
Yeah.
had one of the Nicoletta brothers or one of the Nicoletta guys outside of me. And I was just kind of in a position where like I can't really go anywhere. Like, and just kind of, at that point, it was just hold your line and hopefully it sticks. And then obviously it went hard left into the wall.
Yeah, but the good part about it was that there was so little incidents that pretty much every first incident you still have that faster pair, and basically your pit stop didn't last any longer than anybody else's, and you came back out in sixth, so that didn't really hurt all that bad.
Yeah. Honestly, I think like I'll take luck on my side today for that because I felt like even with just pure pace, like Mike and Andrew and like that top five or four battling the entire night, kind of they were kind of the ones that had the pace tonight. So really, at least to me, the rest of us were kind of just going off of luck and hoping that we could catch a caution in the right spot so you could kind of stay on the lead lap. Because if you could manage the tires well enough, you could stay consistent to an extent. So I'll take it. I mean, I it's not first, but I know a lot of us were fuel saving those last four laps because we were right on the limit. I ran out coming out of the start finish line. So
That's
yeah,
That's what I was thinking. I mean, I was trying to keep an eye on everybody, which is obviously impossible. But I do believe that Avery ran out of fuel before the finish line. He went down on the apron, so and then you obviously made it. But I think there was more people running out on that outlap after the finish. You weren't the only one running out, I don't believe.
yeah, and that was kind of my mentality when we came out. I think it was still about zero point 0.7 out. So the caution laps definitely helped before we got to the restart, but my mentality was kind of just like I knew Andrew and Mike and like everybody was behind me, so the only thing I could really do was just push the car or push the truck 10 laps and try to save.
So
And thankfully, I stayed behind people and drafted, which is kind of what saved me there at the end.
exactly, because I mean Avery was out there in front. You were. It looked for a while that you were trying to really catch him, but then you didn't really put much effort into passing him. And I was kind of thinking, Avery's the one worst off because he's pushing all that air by himself.
Yeah, and I knew a few of us were gonna be a little close, and I had a feeling guys behind us with just how the draft was today, I think would have had enough coming with 2 or 3 laps to go anyway, so they were already pushing. And I was kind of hoping that like if I could save a little bit, like especially out of 1 and 2, you can kind of wash the throttle a little bit. I thought at least I could still end up with a top five if I say run out of like gas coming to the tri-oval. But
Yeah.
yeah, thankfully it was my day today, and I'll take second place, and we'll head to next week,
There,
see if we can get a win.
there you go. And let's face it, without luck, nobody does well.
Yeah, sometimes strategy just has to go in your favor, and I knew once I did the 2 long run laps or the long runs, I kind of had to stick with that and hope it worked, and thankfully it did today.
All right.
And yeah, that's it.
Congratulations, Marshall. Anybody you want to say thank you to tonight here before we go on to Casey?
Want to thank my team Rev Racing. Since I was the only one here today, but at least I gave them a good finish. Hopefully they'll enjoy the broadcast when they go and watch, or if they're watching right now, thanks guys. It's Free M who supplies my gloves, MPI Wheels, Avion Risk Management, and Stantera Simsport, who's the team I run for on the roadside. And you guys for broadcasting, and Scott and Lauren for doing all the stuff they do with the league. I'm stoked for the next few weeks.
So are we, Marshall. Thank you very much. Great result, man.
Thank you, man.
Casey, third place. That was some race, man.
It was exciting, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, just one or two yellows. I mean, it was hard racing between all you guys. You were in that second group most of the time, and I believe that yellow kind of came at the right time for you, didn't it?
Oh, actually, I wanted it to stay green. My team, we decided to split it up. Two of us pitted early, and we are going to make a four-stop race. And two of us, myself and Ron Schutte, you saw us run with each other there most of the night. We decided to stay out and run 25, 50, 75, and we didn't want to see that caution. We were actually looking pretty good.
Okay, wow, that's an interesting strategy change. You're right. There was just a few guys that we saw stretching that fuel to 25, 26. That so basically your strategy was on a green flag race you should be up there anyway.
Yeah. I started 10th. I worked my way up to, I think, 7th. And then all of a sudden, my tires were, I was doing a really good job managing my tires. I was making some good passes on the outside when I could, because it's really tough to pass on the inside. They could get a huge run off of you on 3 and 4, and that was just hard to make that stick. 1 and 2 was easy, but no, I decided to just manage my tires. I worked my way up to 7th. Then all of a sudden, people were pitting, and I'm like going, okay, what are they doing? And then two of my teammates said that they're going to pit here, and I said, all right, and you're going to have one extra stop, because during practice I do fuel runs. I don't really do hot laps. I don't qualify well. I kind of qualified mid-pack, and so I just do fuel runs for the team and let them know how many laps they can get. I knew I could get 27 laps, so that final run was I knew I could make that easy. I wasn't even saving fuel during the run. I saved fuel under the caution flag. I shut my motor off and coasting, but those other guys I knew were in trouble. I thought the 44 was going to run out just like the 18.
Yeah, I mean, and that was kind of your liquor break when the 18 ran out. Is that correct, or did I see that wrong?
Yeah, I was running 4th at the time, and I was actually making a move on the 18 with that last lap, and it's gonna be a drag race off of 4, and being on the high side, I had more momentum on my side. I think I could have passed him, but I heard Carlo, and then all of a sudden he keyed up, and I saw him just drop out of sight. He keyed up and said he's out. So I knew third at that point was going to be easier. But yeah, I think I still could have had him.
Wow, that's that's fun to hear. I mean, I was kind of looking at that fuel because like you said, most of the guys were pitting right around 20, 21, 22 some, and then if you were stretching it to 25, 26, you were one of them. The number 18, Avery, was running there in the front, and his last pit stop was 72, and he had never done long stints like you guys did, so it was kind of predictable, really, and of course he didn't have any tow or draft at all being in front there with that short of a stretch. There were no back markers he could use or nothing. He was breaking all that wind himself, so I was kind of expecting that to happen, and luckily for you it did.
Yeah, I was hoping he was going to use up all his fuel too, and I'd sneak in to get second. But no, I mean the target Ford F-150 tonight was running strong. Like I said, I did tire runs, and I ran that thing out every single time. So I knew what my tires were going to do on that last stint, and those other guys were guessing.
Yeah.
And so I think some of them were overdriving, because Mraz and myself were actually catching those two guys after the 2 went by, and we were starting to run them down. And I think we could have pulled up and got their second, third, and fourth, together until he had a little bit of bad luck there at the end.
Yeah, I saw that. He kind of got pushed out of the way there by Snyder, I believe it was.
Yeah, he got doored out of there. He actually, Andrew scraped the wall coming off of 2, and I saw it, and I moved a little low, and I was going to try to pass him. I was going to use him as a pick and leave Snyder on the outside, because Snyder had a great run coming off the outside. He was making a nice pass on the outside. He set it up really well. But I was going to use Andrew as the pick, and all of a sudden Snyder just come barreling in there, and I'm like, there's not enough room, and he's coming down, and I had two choices to make: stay on it, stay there, and get taken out, and then go back to 18th, whatever it was, or just give it a slight burp and let him in. And I ended up letting him in. He was kind of lucky I did because, I'm sure it would have been on him.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good job, Casey. I mean, I've seen you running several times now. You're always up there, at least in the top 10 somewhere. You're always running very hard and clean, and awesome job tonight. Is there any love yous and thank yous you want to throw out there before we go?
Yeah, I want to thank my whole team tonight. Great run. All four of us in the top 12 tonight. That should help us close on the team championship. We were 12 points back, 20 points back 2 weeks ago. We gained 8 points last week. We should gain some points this week. I had a clean race, so there's some bonus points there. Three of us, I believe, led a lap. So, yeah, I want to thank Ron Schutte, Andrew Mraz, and Jason Branch.
All right. Thank you very much, Casey. We hope to see you again next week and do something similar.
I'm hoping. All right. Thank you.
You bet. We'll talk to you next week. All right, folks. That concludes your top three drivers interviews. Mike Perry is the man that is the man on top here, and that locks him into the Elite Eight for the second round of the playoffs. Of course, we still have Richmond before we go to that second round, but Mike Perry is guaranteed a spot in that second round that starts at Talladega because of his win here tonight. Marshall Stanley in second place. We heard from him. A good race for him as well. Casey Duncan, good race for him as well. They're in third position. And we heard them talk about Wilson. We were expecting him to run out of fuel, and that's exactly what happened. He managed to finish down there in 11th place, rolling over the finish. Then we had Ron Schutte with a little bit of an incident on that final stretch there that came back home in 10th, unfortunately. And in between there, we have Snyder that worked his way up in that final stages of the race. Randy Perdue is in 5th. Mraz in 6th with a little bit unlucky moment there. You heard Casey talk about that as well. Tommy Ryan in 7th. Joachim in 8th. Andrew Moore in 9th, Schutte, as said, in 10th, then Wilson, then Jason Branch in 12th, Indiana Weiss in 13th position, and he's the last car on the lead lap. Then it's David Dolliver in 14th spot, 15th is Jeff Ryan, Brian Rainville in 16th, Matthias in 17th, and Randy Bledsoe in 18th position. And that'll have to do it for tonight. Next week, as said, we're going to be going to Richmond for the second race in the first round of the Sweet 16 round and see if we can get somebody else locked into that next Elite 8 in the playoffs. And hopefully we can say hi to you there again, coming back and see us in Richmond a week from today for the next race. This is Short Shift Broadcasting. My name is Mark. We hope to see you then. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast tonight, and thank you so much for tuning in.